What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. And this time we're taking a look at Law Abiding Citizen, directed by F. Gary Gray, starring Gerard Butler and Jamie Foxx. The overall story of this movie is as follows. Clyde Shelton is a family man played by Gerard Butler, who is the victim of a home invasion which claims the life of his wife and daughter. Having enlisted the help of a hotshot attorney named Nick Rice, the two of them team up to try and put Clyde's family's killers to justice. However, due to a very corrupted justice system and loopholes found, the character of Nick Rice, played by Jamie Foxx, is forced to make a plea deal with one of the killers, much to the dismay and horror of Shelton. Now, fast forward 10 years later, Shelton becomes a one-man vigilante crew, killing his family's killers, and also killing the 6 prosecutors who failed to fight against a corrupted system. So yeah, basically, what I just described to you is a Punisher movie. Law-abiding citizen. Just change a couple of things up here and there, and you basically have the Punisher. That's what Law-abiding citizen is. Clyde Shelton is Frank Castle almost to a T. You know, a family man who is forced to watch his family get murdered, and then he goes against a corrupted system that has failed him, that he once believed in, and it's failed him. That's pretty much what this movie is. Now, does that make this movie bad? No, it doesn't. As an overall package, I thought Law-abiding citizen is actually really, really good. It's not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's very entertaining. There's a lot of scenes, there's a lot of decent performances in this thing, but it also has, stretches of imagination, because this movie, at the end of the day, is supposed to be grounded in reality, and yet it has a lot of just heightened comic booky tropes. So I'm going to illustrate my positives and I'm going to illustrate what I liked and what I didn't like. What I did like, for the most part, the cast in this movie is really strong. I think Gerard Butler as the character Clyde Shelton was really good in this movie. He does a really good job at playing what happens when Frank Castle just completely loses faith in everything, and he starts to kill people who are innocent as well as guilty. That's the character of Clyde Shelton. He's pretty much like a one-man killing spree. And I thought Gerard Butler played the role really, really, really well. I think there are a lot of scenes where you can see his emotional torment, and there's a lot of scenes where you can see his manipulating cunning. And I thought Butler played it off really well. A lot of the scenes he has with Jamie Foxx are some of the best scenes in the movie. And in my opinion, those are also some of Jamie Foxx's best performances, or when he's acting off Gerard Butler. I think Jamie Foxx, though I like him overall in the movie, I think his performance can be very inconsistent. Case in point, there are 2 big scenes where 2 of his closest colleagues are killed, and the way Jamie Foxx's character interacts with those deaths, they're very subdued, almost as if he's restraining himself for some reason. There's a character of Sarah, who was almost like his protege. When she gets killed, he gives it's like Jamie Foxx is trying to emote a good reaction, but he's restraining himself for some reason. And then later on in the movie, a character played by Bruce McGill, who is basically like a mentor figure to Jamie Foxx's character, he's also killed. And once again, Foxx does that same restrained, just almost as if he's trying to prevent himself from showing any real emotions. You can't get a fix on him. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the way F. Gary Gray directed Jamie Foxx, or just how Jamie Foxx interpreted what the kind of emotion he's supposed to show in some of those scenes. There are also some key scenes where he's interacting with his family, and he's so subdued. I think Jamie Foxx is more subdued in this movie than he actually should be, and I think F. Gary Gray is not exploiting the positives of Jamie Foxx's acting abilities. If you watch a movie like Django Unchained, Quentin Tarantino exploits the positives of Jamie Foxx as an actor, and then you watch a movie like Amazing Spider-Man, and Mark Webb, he's not restraining Jamie Foxx enough, and the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Yes, those are superhero / comic book films, but that entire series is grounded in a more grittier reality. And then you have a character like Jamie Foxx, who's acting like Jim Carrey's The Riddler, from Batman Forever, and it kind of contradicts with the tone of that movie. Case in point with Law-abiding citizen, Jamie Foxx is putting in a somber performance that fits the tone of this film, but at the same time, he's being a little too somber, almost showing little to no emotion. The lawyer who should be showing emotion compared to the killer who's showing the most emotion. So it's kind of it's very mixed to me. It's very inconsistent. But as an overall performance, Foxx is not bad. He can be good in a lot of areas, and he can be very subpar in a lot of areas as well. And again, all that has to do with his direction. In terms of the supporting cast, I thought everyone played their hand fairly well. I like the supporting cast in this movie. I mean, this movie is really a two-man show. It's really Butler and Fox, and they pretty much hold this thing together. Especially when they're on screen, they got really good screen time. And like I said, I like Butler's character just in general, especially when he goes into full-blown vigilante mode, and he just comes across as a guy who is like 10 steps ahead of everyone. Especially when he switches canisters during a lethal injection, which painfully kills one of the killers, and then he takes Darby, who was the one who really killed his family, and he just does a full-blown torture on this man, cutting off his limbs and just making him into nothing. And how he takes down everyone involved with the case, all the prosecutors down with the case, and how he picks them off one by one. They're done in very creative and elaborate ways that you got to really stretch your imagination with it. And yeah, there are moments where it can get a little bit too cartoony and a little bit too just, okay, restrain a little bit. Like the premise of this movie, you already need to stretch your imagination just a little bit, especially when one man from a jail cell is orchestrating all these things. And then you find out exactly how he did it at the end. You know, it's some of that Escape from Alcatraz nonsense, where it's like, okay, you got to be a little bit more grounded, more realistic here with a movie like this. But as an overall package, it is very entertaining. I think for the most part, F. Gary Gray's direction is solid. The cinematography is good. I like the grounded, realistic look of this movie. I like how this movie does not pull no punches with its violence. This movie can get really over the top of the violence in a lot of areas, especially when Shelton is torturing Darby. That's where the movie gets its most bloodiest. And like I said, in the scene, and also the scenes where Shelton is picking off these 6 prosecutors one by one. Some of those deaths are done in very creative ways, and others are done in very elaborate ways, where a lot of coincidences need to take place in order to buy it. That's where the movie can lose you a little bit in some of those aspects. But as an overall package, I like Law Abiding Citizen. I think this is a very solid movie. It's backed by a good performance by Gerard Butler, an overall decent performance by Jamie Foxx, who can be good in a lot of scenes and very subdued in scenes where he shouldn't be playing it as subdued. The directing is overall rock solid. The cinematography gives a very gritty and dark look. And yeah, I don't really have all that much left to say. So it's 8 out of 10 for Law Abiding Citizen. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe. And I'll check you back next time for more.